What's up? What's happening? Welcome here to Lacrosse Now. I'm Travis Eldridge. Tom Eschen is on vacation, so we've got a whole boatload of guests to help fill the time and chat lacrosse with us over the next 50 minutes to an hour or so. We got a couple of players that are fresh off of gold medals. First, we'll go with Dhane Smith. Won gold with Canada at the World Games in the new sixes format. What a show Canada put on. So we'll chat with Dhane Smith about that, as well as losing the NLL finals with the Bandits against the Mammoth. We'll also talk a little PLL with him as that Chaos team looks to get rolling 1-4 here in the first part of the season, but they start kicking things off after the All-Star break later on this week. So we'll talk all that with Dhane. Then we'll stick with the Canadian theme of this show, and we'll talk with Emily Boissonneault, who also won gold at the World Games with the Canadian women's team. She, of course, was part of the Canadians team that won silver at the World Championships in Towson, Maryland, then made that quick transition to keep on playing sixes down in Alabama at the World Games. So she compares the experiences, talks a little bit more about the sixes game. We'll also talk some Pitt Panthers lacrosse with her. She, of course, is the Pitt head coach. They're headed into their second season in program history after a really successful first year in the ACC, just under 500. They won a couple of ACC games. So we'll talk all of that with Emily Boissonneault. And then we'll be joined by a guy who'd like to add another gold medal to his trophy case. That is Team USA U21 coach Nick Myers, also the head coach at Ohio State. He will talk about getting ready for the World Championships over in Ireland coming up next month, August 10th to the 20th. He covers everything, what it's been like to keep this team together throughout the pandemic. They thought they were going to play in 2020. Then they thought maybe 2021. Well, here in 2022, they'll finally have the opportunity, fingers crossed, to play that World Championship event over in Limerick, Ireland. So we'll get you ready for that U21 event with Team USA head coach Nick Myers. But we'll kick things off with Canada. Let's chat some Canadian lacrosse World Games gold medalist Dhane Smith chats with us now. So we're now joined by World Games gold medalist Dhane Smith. Dhane, that's got to feel pretty good. What's it like to have a gold medal to your name now?
It's an incredible feeling. I've been fortunate enough to play Team Canada for the indoors, and I've won 2 golds there, but I've never been a part of an outdoor game, especially sixes, because it's so new. But being able to make the sixes roster and playing in the outdoor game and winning gold, it's a dream come true. I'm one of those players that I've been cut from 3 outdoor field lacrosse teams for Team Canada, and finally getting my name called for this, it was a true honor, and it was an unbelievable experience.
You guys really took it to Team USA, and it felt like maybe there was a little something behind you guys wanted to win gold in this event. What was it that made this one maybe a little bit more special than just any other indoor gold or whatever else?
Yeah, it was obviously you want to represent your country. You want to win gold. You're going there to win gold. And I think Brody Merrill, John Grant Jr., Jordan Hall, and the rest of the coaching staff did a great job of preparing and picking this team. They didn't pick individuals that could play just offense or just defense. They picked players that can play both ways. And I think that's what made us successful rather than other teams that kind of brought in different lineups. We wanted to obviously beat USA more than anything. And we felt that they didn't even bring their best. And we wanted to make it known that if they want to play against us, they had to bring their best.
So message received loud and clear with what you guys did in that gold medal game. You mentioned Junior and Brody Merrill. What's it like having the two of them and those lacrosse minds on your sideline as coaches?
It's unbelievable. It's very weird. I've played with and against those guys, so it's different. But they understand the sport more than anybody else. They've played. Those guys have played kind of in these recent days, and Brody's obviously still playing. So it's a weird thing because when we play against each other, we butt heads. But then when he's coaching me, he's complimenting me. So it's one of those weird mixtures. John Grant Jr. is a great coach. He has a bright future because he's a player's coach. He knows how the game has developed, and he lets us do our own thing. And if we get out of sorts, he kind of brings us back in.
Well, and it just feels different with the two of them, too, because, like, I think later in their careers, they have been coaches on the field now for so many years, no matter what level they've played at. And it feels like even as just them being coaches, it's that same thing and mentality on the sideline. Like you guys come over and it almost feels like they're picking your brain as much as you're picking theirs.
Yeah, and that's what's the best part about it, being an older guy, becoming an older guy, and talking to those guys about what we should be doing. They are always asking questions, and if we don't agree with them, they always listen to us. And it's a different aspect of the game that we've never kind of had before. And I think that's what made us so successful.
So sixes, a lot has been made, obviously, of the format, because this is what the sport hopes will take the sport into the Olympic Games as early as 2028. From your feel, now that you've played it really competitively on a stage that's on a world stage with a gold medal on the line, what's the feel for it? Is it more like field? Is it more like box? Is it a very big combination of both? Like, how do you feel about it?
It's a mixture of both. I think it's more box lacrosse. That being said, like you have to be able to be in shape to play this game. It's only 10 players, and you can dress 11, I guess, in a goalie, but then you're risking the goalie, that type of situation. So it's five on five, and it's one of those things that you can't kind of prepare for it. It's you have to play it to be prepared, and it's an exciting game. Like there's a lot of goal scoring. As being an offensive guy, I like putting the ball in the back of the net, but it's very nerve-wracking too. I remember the first game being like, I don't want to breakaway, because if you score, you should be able to score, but if you miss, then everybody's gonna be chirping you. So it was nerve-wracking at first, but after you kind of got your legs under you, it was a fun game to be a part of.
Well, and the shooting efficiency is maybe like the most important stat you have. Like even in the NLL, you miss, like it hits the boards and you ricochet back up, you're good. And you miss the goal, it's over. Like game on, like somebody else is coming back the other way. It's a turnover.
Yeah, and I think honestly we realized that after game one. I think our shooting percentage was maybe 50%, maybe a little over. I'm not too sure. But John Grant Jr., after that, we had a meeting and he was like, if we're not shooting 75% or more, then I don't know what we're doing. So it kind of was a weird aspect. We started shooting from the outside of the first game. And after that, I remember having some open looks to shots from the outside. I'm like, you know what? We can do better. And I think that's what made us successful. A lot of teams are taking shots that possessions are key in this game. You go on runs and you have to be able to stop those runs. But if you miss a net or if you force one in the middle and you lose possession, it's a possession game. So we learned that early, and I think that's what made us successful.
Throughout the tournament, outside of shooting percentage, how did you feel like the strategy changed, whether it was for you guys or what other teams are trying to throw at you?
I think, again, this game is meant for players that can play both ways. You can't really do the offense-defense thing as much as you like to think you can. Team Canada, for us, we brought the best players that can play both ways. And I think that's what kind of made us successful. We were able to run guys into the ground, and we were able to push transition, but also cut off transition. And a lot of teams had a various of both, but like if you're able to do both, and it makes you more successful.
Yeah, I mean, you probably played more defense in this tournament than you have in a long time, huh?
Yeah, it brought me back to my rookie year in Buffalo. So it was an exciting time, but it's different.
So let's talk about Buffalo. You guys get all the way to the NLL finals, have this incredible year. You're named NLL MVP. What happened in game 3 of that finals?
You know what? We ran into a team that had our number. I think a lot of things kind of, I guess you could say, went wrong for us. And it was a tough series. They're a great team. I have to give them credit. They played us really well. And we ran into a really hot goalie, Dylan Warren. And that's been said in many series and many aspects. He's an unbelievable goalie, and their defense played us well, and their offense stepped up. And I feel like they had nothing to lose. And when you have a team that has nothing to lose, you find success. And it was just, it was a heartbreaking series. It took me more than a month to kind of get over. And luckily, I was able to play in this gold medal game to kind of get that chip back on my shoulder.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it feel like a missed opportunity knowing like what you guys had done all year long, and you're there and you're 1 win away?
Most definitely. It's one of those things that you realize as you get older. I think it gets a little bit harder. I've been in the league for 10 years now and been to 3 finals, and I haven't had anything to show from it. And this is the best team I've been a part of, and to fall short, it's kind of it's upsetting. It's a hard thing to swallow, and I think that as you get older, I guess you realize that, and I think that's why it's taken me so long to kind of get over it. I don't know if I'll ever get over it.
So obviously, you'd take the championship over the MVP any day than most players would. But what does that MVP mean to you, and knowing the season that you had in the regular season?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Again, so many people have reached out and said congratulations and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, for me, I know it's a huge accomplishment. And I know it's a really cool award. But again, I've already won it. So selfishly, I want to win something differently, and that's the championship. And you look around any sport, you're known for winning championships, not MVPs and all that stuff. I'm very, very grateful at the end of the day, and I can't thank my teammates. Again, we had one of the best offenses in the league, so it was easy for me to just kind of give the ball to those players and then put in the back of the net. But I'm still hoping for that championship, and if I have to do a little bit more, then I got to do a little bit more. And yeah.
Well, you just get to keep on running through lacrosse. Like, you started back in October, November, getting ready for the NLL season, and it's going to continue on right through September with the PLL season. Like, where's your body at? Because you guys are right back at it with the chaos here coming up this week in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's tough. You know what? It's one of those things where you kind of grind all year, and obviously win the PLL championship last year, right into the NLL season. Going to the finals this year, and then obviously going right into PLL, and then having worlds and stuff like that. It's nonstop. So my body's kind of been beat up, but I've prepared for this, and I'm in the best shape of my life. And it's one of those things you got to take week by week.
How do you tailor, like, making sure that you're ready? Because, like, I know there's certain players, like, you want to lift and do certain things when you're playing, but in the offseason you do different things. You haven't really had an offseason in like a calendar year. So how have you tailored your workout routine during the week to make sure your body's ready on the weekends?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think my body will ever feel 100% ever again. But that being said, it's been exciting. It's been challenging. It's been one of those things that I got to keep up with physio, and we do cryotherapy in Buffalo, and I have all the right people around me to kind of make me better. And we have a great trainer here in Buffalo that he knows how to deload us, but also strengthen us. And it's one of those tricky situations where at the end of the day, you just have to feel what's right for your body, and you can't push it too much if you feel a little off. But that being said, it's nonstop. So I can't wait to kind of have a month break going back into the NLL season. But right now I'm focused on obviously coming back for the PL for Chaos.
Yeah, so you guys finally got that first win with like the wave of indoor players that you had rejoin the team here for the Chaos. You've played a couple of games so far. What's the key from here on out, knowing like, yeah, you've got to make the playoffs, but that's a situation where you win a couple of games here, you should be able to find that. Like, how do you guys figure out your rhythm here in the final 5 weeks so that you feel like you're ready to go to possibly defend your title?
Like you said, it's just getting back into rhythm. I think our first game back, we weren't mentally there. We weren't physically there. We just wanted to kind of be there for our teammates and support them. I know we were really beat up. And then obviously the second game, we had a little bit more chemistry. We got a little bit healthier. Obviously having this long break, it's been nice to kind of get our minds right and get everybody back. I know we're going to have Max Adler back, which is going to be huge for us. Not that our draw guys didn't step up, but it's one more piece that kind of brings us back together. And our offense is going to figure it out. Our defense has been great all year, and Blaze is the best goalie to ever do it. So it's one of those things that you got to take it game by game. That being said, we have to win games now, and it's not that easy to do, especially in this league. Everything's so tight, and there's so many great players. That being said, it's another opportunity to kind of play this weekend in Connecticut.
Continuity-wise, like obviously you've got a feel with a bunch of guys in this offense, but what are the little differences and the subtle things that like make a difference between you guys winning a 1-2 goal game and losing a 1-2 goal game with what you guys can do offensively?
Yeah, it's been nice because a lot of us have played together all year round, right? Now we have 4 to 5 guys on Buffalo on the offensive end, so the chemistry's already right there. And then obviously playing with or against these guys in the previous years, all these Canadian players, and Matt O'Keefe who can shoot the ball. So we just have to give him the ball and he can shoot it. It's an exciting offense to be a part of. We're a lot different than others, but we play it like we played in our backyards. We play it like we've been playing together for years and years to come. So we take those chances, but I think being able to limit those chances and put the ball in the back of the net is huge for us. And again, we're looking forward to the challenge.
Speaking of backyard lacrosse, there were a couple of goals that your team scored in sixes that were just absurd. You had Josh Byrne that he did the thing that he's been doing to a couple of times now. So I guess it's like old habit for him going through the legs. But what Jeff Teat did with the one-handed over the shoulder is something I don't know if I've ever seen. Compare the two. Which was your favorite?
You know what? I think I'm going to say both those goals I passed to them. So I want to say both of them are pretty nice. That being said, I mean, I don't even know how they think of doing those things. Like, I'm not a flashy player at all. I just want to put the ball in the back of the net. And those guys find success with doing crazy things like that. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to be a part of. My favorite, that's tough. I think I'm going to say Jeff Teat only because Josh is probably my roommate and one of my best friends, and I got to give him a hard time. But also doing that against US, it's hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, have you seen something like that from like in a field, like a run of play, like what Teat did? Because I don't know if I've seen the one-handed thing. I thought he had two hands. It was just behind the back at first, and then I saw the replay.
Yeah, nobody really saw it. I obviously passed to him and he was facing me, so I saw it. It was really quick. It's one of those things though you can't celebrate. So once I pass it, he scores, you get to like sprint back. So it's really weird, that part of the game in sixes. But it makes it exciting. And like again, those things are crazy. Teat, this is the first year playing with him. He's one of those players that he's so nonchalant. He makes everything look so easy, and that's what's so frustrating because he's so good. But it's like it looks like you're not trying. And Josh is one of the most talented players I've ever seen. I don't think anybody's seen what he's done ever. So it's kind of cool to watch as well. So I'm just lucky enough to play with so many talented players on the Sixers team this year. And hopefully it's being talked about in years to come.
Yeah, good to have Jeff Teat on your team, right? Like, he's a good guy to have with you, not playing against you.
Most definitely.
You're wearing the Black Alliance, Lacrosse Alliance shirt, and I want to give you an opportunity to speak about what you guys continue to do, because I think it's really important and really cool for players that look like you to be able to see you wearing a gold medal and you winning NLL MVP. What does it mean for you to be able to kind of put that on display for kids that are coming up and looking up to you?
Yeah, it means the world to me. And that's partially why I play this sport. I play for those kids that had it rough or are going to have it rough, and they got to see that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's ways to get it out of those rough neighborhoods, or there's ways to make it to the top level. And seeing a guy like me have a success, it's exciting for me to kind of show them that they can do it, and it's not going to be just me. And I'm excited for the next generation to be able to do it as well.
Well, you're continuing to carry that flag very, very well, Dhane. We appreciate you taking some time. Congratulations on all your success. Can't wait to see you here with the Chaos the rest of the way, all right?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And speaking of Team Canada, we've got Emily Boissonneault, who won gold with Team Canada on the women's side during the World Games, joining us now. So we keep the Canada flair going here, and we've got Emily joining us now. Emily, watching the men win gold has to be really special. But then you guys, after taking silver in the World Championships, you go to the World Games, a bunch of the same players, and you guys take home gold. What was it like to be part of this team in the World Games that won the gold medal?
I mean, honestly, it started with our World Cup team. Like, we were just so close, and everyone, it was just like an inclusive group. It was incredible young women, young and old. Like, we had like the perfect mix of, of ages and experience. And it was incredible. Our whole team knew we could win. I think the gold medal game at World Cup really solidified, our abilities, and to come together at World Games and finish what we started, I think was, there's no better feeling. I don't think a single one of us has stopped smiling. So,
yeah, I mean, I have talked a lot about it with the 2015 U19 team for Canada that won gold on the women's side. That was the first gold medal in a women's competition for Canada. So how special is this one at the senior level?
This one meant a lot. I shouldn't say a lot more because that's not fair. I wasn't at the U19, but I think what was special about this one was that this is the future of our sport. This is the Olympics version of our sport. This is where we're going. And for us to be at the forefront of that, I think it means a lot to us to know that we're going in the right direction. We've been fighting inching for this gold for this is my third World Cup, and every World Cup we get closer and closer and closer. And I think for us to know that we're kind of chipping away, I think it's just really bright for the future of Canada lacrosse and for the young players on our team that are going to continue to build our legacy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned the World Championship event, and you guys challenged Team USA. I thought, that first game in the opening night, you get an extra goal in that woman up situation that ties the game. It's a completely different game there down the stretch, and you kept it close again in the gold medal game. How much do you feel like that Canada has closed the gap, and what do you where's that coming from? Where is the talent coming from that maybe is different from 4 or 8, 9 years ago?
Yeah, I really believe it started 4, 5, 6 years ago. I was calling some of the players I played in 2013 with and telling them I could feel their energy on this team. Who I was as a player in this World Cup, that started with them. And so I think we had this really great experience. We have Dana, Kay Morissette, Lydia Sutton, we had really experienced players on the team that knew what it was like. But these young players are fearless. They're, incredible to play with. Nicole Peroni is a player that I'm scouting against, and I at Louisville, and I love playing with her. She's one of the best. But Brooklyn Walker Welsh, these are the players that they're fearless. They know how to win. They want to win, and they're going to do anything to do it. And it's so exciting to have, to have those fresh legs and to have that skill, and these kids that are playing at the highest level in college. It's just such a great mesh of people.
Yeah. And it's so cool. Aurora Accordingly, I don't even know if she leaves Hopkins, goes to Maryland for a year, and I don't even know if the World Championships are last summer, if she does what she did this summer. It just felt like as a group, the confidence level that you could compete with Team USA and the best players in the world was there from the get-go.
Yeah, this was I thought the first game we played against the U.S. was one of the best offensive games that we'd had against the U.S. And it was, it just felt like it was just pure confidence. Dana's always led our offense with confidence. She's unreal. And this was honestly in my eyes, her best performance. I've played with her for a long time, and she started that confidence in us. At World Cup in that first game, she gave us the confidence to do what we did. Allie Jimerson, Aurora, I just couldn't. They've had incredible performances in that first game. And I just think that built our confidence all over the field. And that was huge because that USA defense has always been something that we've struggled with. And for us to have performed as well as we did, it definitely drove us through the rest of World Cup and then to World Games.
You mentioned Dana, and I think it's so cool to see her continuing to play because, everything that has made her stand out through her entire career, it seems like is now embraced more than ever before. The goals that she scores in this age where it turns into a viral highlight, it's perfect for the women's game, and now she's really, thriving in that. Talk about what impact that has when she throws that ridiculous backhand or does a BTB, the impact that has right on down the roster for the rest of you.
I think you can see it on the field with our team. When she scores, it's we joked about it on defense. We'd be on defense. I'm when are we going to get photos of us when they're scoring? Because we're so hyped. We're so pumped. It just feeds the whole team. And, it's just, she's an incredible voice on the team. It doesn't end with just the way she plays. It's her leadership as well. And when you have a player like that everyone can buy into, it means so much. And she's been fighting for gold longer than I have. I don't know. Longer than a lot of us out there. So for us to be able to do something like this for her too, it's obviously about the country and for us and our families, but I think it means a lot for a lot of us to give that to her as well.
I mean, that's probably the most lacrosse you've played in a couple weeks stretch in a while. How's the body feel after back-to-back world championship type tournaments?
You know what? I feel better than I thought I was going to feel. We had incredible athletic training staff. I also know my limits these days. So I was in the boots. The boots were in my room. The Normatec boots were in my room through World Games. I brought a pair from Pitt. Like, there were like probably 5 of us that spent a good 2 hours in the Normatec boots a day. We really took care of ourselves. I mean, the vets on the team, they know what it's like. So I think we were really physically and mentally prepared for the long tournament.
Yeah, you get those recovery sleeves on real quick right after the game. They make a difference. Sixes, like, how would you best describe like what it compares to, if there's any way to compare it to anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all want to compare it to box lacrosse. I mean, and that's part of the reason I think we did well. I mean, but a lot of the kids on our team, or athletes on our team, didn't play box lacrosse growing up. Like, I just started playing box lacrosse this year. Like, a lot of us have never played, but we grew up with the sport. We understand it. And at the end of the day, you have to have good stick work and you have to want to be creative. And so I think that really played into our team and our strengths. But I mean, basketball, I guess, would be the next big one, right? I mean, I know you can't sub on the fly, but the concepts are the same. But yeah, I mean, I'd say it's most like box lacrosse. I mean, hockey, even like the same. I mean, I'm naming all the sports that we're, traditionally known for, but, yeah, I mean, I would say it's a lot like that. And I think one of the cool things is you're seeing the box lacrosse grow throughout the United States and honestly other countries now too. And I think that's just for any young player that wants to play in the Olympics. They want this opportunity. Like, those are the types of sports that are going to elevate your game. Yeah, and I was talking with Dhane Smith, and I've been talking with other people who've played the game, and like shooting and how efficiently you shoot is so important, because I think that is maybe the biggest difference maker from box and field. Is like, you miss a shot and it goes past and you don't hit the cage, like, it's the rebound, it's gone. There's no free rebound if you back it up. What other strategic things did you see teams do, or were you guys trying out throughout the tournament that kind of evolved as you're playing this thing at a real high competitive level for the first time? Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things, like this strategic play off of the clear, I think that was important. Like, I mean, we did a pretty good job of pressuring the goalie when we felt like we really needed the ball. And I think that made a huge difference, working to get early turnovers. And so I like that. We had 3 line defenders on our team, and I actually thought that really benefited us, just because when push came to shove, we were able to mark up on kind of like the top offensive players. And I don't think a lot of other teams really took that strategy. And so I thought that helped us have a really great defensive game against the U.S. I mean, I think man down, man up. I mean, that's a long time to be, penalties. That's something that we're just not used to in the women's game, having that many man up, man downs. And I just think that's such a simple concept. I mean, at camp, we're doing man up and man down all the time. And it's such an overlooked concept, but 5v4s, man, that comes after you. So, that made a big difference in our play. Yeah, it's fast. When you can have one less player on the field when it's 5-on-5 makes a gigantic difference. I mean, you see it in hockey. Like, those man-up situations, or when you start creating more space, it just gives players more space to operate. Yeah, yep. And I do think in the World game, the World Cup as well, like when you're playing 6-on-6 versus 7-on-7 offensively or defensively, there's just more space that has to be accounted for. 100%. It's you have to be able to hold them out in the 1v1 to get your help. Like, it's no joke. And in 7v7, you have a little bit more space to manage. And so that was something that was, it does make a difference in having a strong defensive unit. I mean, we had killer goalies in both tournaments, and I mean, couldn't have done as well as we had without them. But yeah, being able to hold them out 1v1, and thankfully our middies are all strong 2-ways, and that made a big difference. A big change for us in World Cup was not having the 12 meter. Yeah. So usually we have the 8 and the 12, or it's 11 and 15 in World Lacrosse, and not having that spatial awareness, just even having that was a big adjustment for us.
Well, you've adjusted to being the head coach at Pitt and did so pretty well. I wonder, after this first year, and now that you've put your talent on the field on display, what's the recruiting been like ever since, you won gold with Canada and were runners-up during the World Cup? Like, what's it been like on the recruiting trail now that you got some hardware as well to add to the trophy case?
People have been really really kind. I mean, we've had a lot of people reach out, and I think it's exciting to see where you want to be, to see someone you want to be like, is potentially going to be able to coach you. And I think that's been something that a lot of people have kind of honed in on and made comments about. And I'm not the only one. We had Haley Hicklin representing USA, and she's a phenomenal goalie. Didn't have to step in cage, but we had camp here. We had and the amount of people that were watching, and we're excited about us coming home with gold and silver, I think was really cool. I'm really excited for my team. And I think that's like really what I think all of us coaches out there with kids that are playing in the World Cup and World Games, like, to be excited for them and to be proud of them and, help them get there. I think that's something that we're, as proud of Haley and I as we are, and everyone is. I think it's really exciting for us to see our athletes out there and, doing, what we want for all our kids.
And you're coming off of year one. Like, how do you evaluate how you did in year one and what you guys would like to do here in year two as you look to build off of that first season in program history?
Yeah, so there were two major things we wanted to do this year. And the number one thing was create a culture, which is really tough to evaluate. But I think, I think we did it. I think we successfully did that. I think a lot of people that watched our games or got to watch our ACC 50 for 50 was a great opportunity to kind of get a look at who we are as a program and what we've created. And I think that was a big check mark for us, or the all access, sorry. And then the other thing, we wanted to make the NCAA tournament. That was a huge goal for us. As it is, most programs, which we didn't succeed, but we got pretty darn close. We had some votes for top 25, and we were just under 500, and we won 2 ACC games, which was huge for us. And we knew that was necessary for us to kind of step there. And so I think the future is bright for us. We're not bringing as many transfers this year. We're really working on developing what we have, which is incredible athletes and young women. And I think hopefully work to inspire a lot of other young athletes who are hoping to step into these shoes one day too. Yeah,
starting a program anywhere is difficult, but to walk into the ACC, the most competitive conference in the country, and to do what you guys did was incredible. And so that it needs to be commended upon. And so I wonder, after that experience, what advice would you give to Clemson now as they walk into their first year here next year in the conference that you'll be in? What are things did you maybe not expect, or what was it like that you would pass down to them?
I think the biggest thing is to make sure that the moments are enjoyed. And we did a really great job of that. I think that's something we really we did well at. And it's easy to say, but I think our athletes performed well, and they had confidence, and they believed in themselves because we stayed in every moment. We were focused on what was happening in front of us, and we didn't forget about it. We knew that every moment was a piece of history, and we celebrated everything. And I think that was something that really has helped us create the culture that we have. And honestly, the belief in our athletes, they have so much belief in themselves and the fact that this program can be successful. And that's something you can't just teach. That's a feeling, that's a vibe, that's something that, happens over time. And the fact that we were able to do that in year one, I think is a huge success and something that each athlete participated in and had a huge role in.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Between confidence and belief, if you have the two of those things, sometimes that's better than having the best team on the field, because if you have those two things, you can compete with pretty much anybody in the country.
Yep. It's all about heart. It's all about drive. So.
For sure. Well, Emily, it was fun to watch you play. It was really fun to watch you coach with this Pitt team in your first year. Good luck here throughout the summer as you keep hitting that recruiting trail, and we'll look out for you guys come the fall and spring. All right.
Great. Thank you so much.
So as we look ahead to the now U23 World Championships, we have Team USA head coach Nick Myers. We started at U19, coach, and it was U20, and now we're, U22, U23. It's been a long time coming, but what's it like to be so close now to finally going to Ireland?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to jump on, and it's been a journey. There's no doubt. I think having the privilege to be part of the 2016 World Championships, it seems like that was a while ago, and you look at some of the alums from that team now that are, seasoned pro veterans, to where now here we are on the verge of the next World Games, almost 6 years later, which, as you'd stated, should be a 4-year cycle, and it's turned into a 6-year cycle. And but that being said, credit to the World Lacrosse Federation and for the folks that have really worked behind the scenes. Certainly U.S. Lacrosse has done an amazing job of advocating for this particular group to get this World Championship. Ireland, the host, has been phenomenal. They've been committed every step of the way. So all things point. You're always cautiously optimistic. I think at this point you have to be. But we had a great week last week with the men. We got our team picked, and right now we're there in Coach Dyer's hand. He's got them training. We got a group meet firing, and we got our eyes focused on the task that we have coming up here in August.
What was it like here in these weeks leading up to finally get that group together again here in the summer and know, hey, these are the guys that we're taking over?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I mean, we had our kind of our final cut down camp, if you will, in November here in Columbus. And that was a great step, because at that point we hadn't really played outside competition in a couple of years. We had the camp in June, but that really was just a reacclimate post-COVID. So the November camp was big. We made a couple roster adjustments. We played Carolina. We played Ohio State. We got out of there healthy, got everybody back to their teams. And then for me, obviously the focus then turns back to Ohio State. But I was able to follow these men through their season. And man, I tell you what, every guy on this roster really felt like had a great season. So I think we had a lot of excitement. The biggest thing is health. We want to make sure these guys are coming in healthy and they leave this experience healthy. So, we had physicals last week. Guys got through the physicals. We have one young man that we're working with right now. It's coming off an injury from the Final Four. But we expect him to make a recovery. That's certainly the goal. So really we got our team picked, and now it's just a matter of, conditioning. And, the summer typically is a time where you gain weight, you gain strength. Every program's a little bit different, so for our men, knowing there's this, 8 games in 10 days in August, they have to make some modifications to their summer workouts. So, last week was perfect. We got in, we trained. Coach Dyer is an incredible resource to have for the national team. So we got in the weight room and we left that camp with a really good sense of each other and what we need to do in these next 60 days to really prepare, not even 60, less than that, to get ready to go over to Ireland and be successful.
You mentioned all these guys having played in college, and it's different than when you coached the U19 team back in 2016, because then you've got some guys who have been freshmen, or maybe a couple of guys who have played a sophomore year or heading into their sophomore year. But for the most part, it's split then between guys who are also in high school. Does it make it easier or harder knowing that all of these guys have some college experience and have played at that level?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's necessarily easy or harder. It's just different. I think just the way we navigate this team, the level of respect that we have for them and they have for us, I think it's just different as juniors and seniors in college. You made the point of the 2016 team, guys like Mac O'Keefe, Michael Sowers, Jared Bernhardt, those guys were still in high school. They hadn't even had their first, rep of college lacrosse yet. That being said, this team that we selected, we've been with them since high school. When we first met them the summer of 2019, so the relationships, the trust, we just voted on captains as a team this past week. And I'm really proud to stay. I don't know if I could get in trouble for stating this here with you, but I'm going to break it anyway. Graham Bundy and Cole Kirst will be our captains of Team USA. And the team was made aware of that yesterday. So, but my point with Graham and Cole is those guys have been so consistent going back to even the summer of 19 when we had 100 guys. They emerged immediately as leadership type guys. And then here we are, however many years later, and however many camps later, to be voted on by their peers as captains of the team is definitely a next step in terms of building the identity of this group. But yeah, I mean, listen, Nick, you said it. This is going to be some incredible lacrosse, and it's not just us. Let's keep in mind all the teams that we're competing against now are that age as well. So, we had 5 of our Buckeyes out at the Canadian camp here they had in British Columbia a couple of weeks ago. I know they're making their final roster decisions, but they're going to be loaded, and everybody that's coming over is going to be. And so you're going to see guys that know lacrosse, familiar with field lacrosse, and you're going to see some really high level lacrosse being played over in Ireland. I have no doubt about that.
Having known the Kirsch family now and speaking with Graham Bundy this past year, those captains don't surprise me one bit. 2 very impressive individuals on a group that is very impressive. You mentioned the competition, and there's this pressure that Team USA has never lost one of these world championships, whether it's U19 or now this iteration of it. What is that pressure? And I'm sure you don't feel it now maybe as much as you might feel it as you go on in the tournament. For you having experienced it, what do you tell these guys that haven't experienced that?
Yeah, it's there. I mean, listen, and I think what you have to do is you can lean away from it or you can lean into it. And, when I accepted this opportunity to come back and coach the team again, you accept the responsibility that comes with this particular team and the history of this team dating back to, I believe it's 1988 when we won the first championship, and our goal of bringing our 9th world championship back at this level consecutive is an awesome responsibility. And that's kind of how we framed it to our men. I think you have to, pressure is privilege, and nobody should put more pressure on you than you. And I think we talk about this team, only team beating Team USA is Team USA, and we know that there's some great challenges that lie ahead. There's some great opponents that we'll face. But we truly believe it's a matter of not allowing ourselves to beat ourselves. And this is tricky. You only have so much time together. You get 3 days, then you're away from each other for a month and a half. And then you get thrown right into our first game. The schedule just came out. Guess who we're playing, game 1 of the world championship. So we'll go right into it. We'll see our biggest opponent, or one of our biggest opponents, I should say. And then we'll have a 10-day window of pool play before the tournament starts, and we compete for that championship. So it's a process. What I learned from 16 is you got to kind of evolve as a team through the tournament. You kind of grow as a group, and that's going to be a big part of our ability to be successful. You got to minimize distractions, and you got to pick the right men. You got to pick men that, really are willing to serve each other, put their egos aside, take on any role that you can. And we had Matt Danowski and John Galloway. It was great. We were there with the seniors last week at Sparks. So they came in, and our last breakfast as a team, Coach Danowski came over and introduced, Coach Danowski and Coach Galloway, and they shared, their experience from this team and what that meant to them to be a part of Team USA at the senior level. Coach Galloway having been cut, them being an alternate, them being a captain. It was really profound to hear their words, to hear what it means to them. And I think that really resonated with our men that, hey, this is just an awesome opportunity, and let's look at it and attack it as such. You mentioned kind of like doing whatever the team needs. And I mean, you experienced this with high school kids coming into college. You got a bunch of guys that are number ones in their high school team that you got to get to buy into the college philosophy and how they fit in with this team. But now, like with this group, you got a bunch of guys who maybe are number ones on their college team now that you got to get to buy into the Team USA idea and the model. How have you kind of approach that? And I think it's got to be more, maybe almost more similar to the U.S. men's national team idea, where you got guys who are some of the best in the world that are all maybe going to have to do something different so that this team works. Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. I think like I said, you got to just address the elephant in the room, go right at it, and you got to lean into it. And, where the seniors are taking PLL guys and trying to formulate PLL pro players back into the international game. The biggest thing you have to keep in mind is the game is just different. The international game is just a very different game. And I think that sometimes is lost on folks that aren't as familiar with international lacrosse. I think it's outstanding. ESPN has picked up the World Games. So people back here in the United States are going to get to see the U21 semifinals and championship game and really get an opportunity to experience it. But there is no shot clock. The nuances of the game is actually much shorter than it was in 2016. They went from 20-minute running quarters now to 15-minute running quarters. So, it used to be the longest lacrosse game that you played to now it's one of the shortest. If we had played 15-minute running quarters in 2016, we probably would have lost the world championship. So I think reminding our men, taking them back to some of those experiences that I had with that last group, highlighting guys like a Brian Costabile. Brian Costabile was the best player, in my opinion, at the camp last week. And he, in the games I saw, he's one of the best minis in the world right now. And that young man was a defensive midfielder on our team. And, Mac O'Keefe was an out-of-the-box, kind of like midfield wing dodger, and now he's the all-time leading scorer. And to see those guys come over and to hear their experiences, Michael Sowers, they talk so positively. Ryan Codran, I saw last week. These are guys that really, when I see them, they light up. We have an embrace, and they've shared their experiences with our men. That's really important for them to hear, because I do think there's going to come a time where guys are going to have to maybe give a little to get. And I think they've really bought into that so far. The proof will come when we get over there and we have to line up and go. But yeah, the international game, and then taking guys that have been in the Notre Dame system, the Duke system, the Yale system, the Virginia system for now 3 and 4 years, you're kind of stuck in your ways, and you got to learn a new vocabulary, new language, and you have to ultimately do it with each other. That's one of the challenges that I really love. I really enjoy. It's a lot of fun. It's what makes this experience very unique.
Yeah, I love those examples. They're great ones from guys who have evolved their game for that tournament in particular. All right, final one for me. Throughout this process, because you guys stayed in contact, but it's different, and there have been a couple of guys that have kind of come in and out of this team depending on different roster moves and cuts that you've made once in this last year or so. How have you felt like just kind of the group dynamic has evolved since before the pandemic when you were kind of getting ready for 2020?
Yeah, no, again, great question. I think the men, the hardest part of this is making the roster decisions. There's just no doubt. I mean, it's grueling. I've lost sleep over that. That's really tough. And what we've tried to tell the men is like, even from that very first group of 100, say, that started this process, everybody has a share in this thing, and when we come together, that it's that feeling of, there's guys that aren't here that you have the privilege of representing the United States of America in this uniform that, you fought for. And I think just keeping that in mind that, hey, listen, this is bigger than us. I guess this responsibility that we have, I think is very humbling. We've talked a lot about that as a team, so these are things that I do think bind us together a bit. We've had the normal group me's and text messages, and we'll touch base with each other. And I think, even go on through the season, you play Notre Dame, when you see Cav and Entman in line, whether you win or lose, that embrace is a little bit more significant, and I had that experience with a lot of the guys, each week, I felt like I was playing somebody on the other side of the ball that was a Team USA member. And, but you know what, I tell you what, credit to the men and the staff. When we get together, we've really been able to we start every time with some sort of a team builder, whether it's 7 good minutes, or whatever it may be, where we just talk, and we just reacclimate. And, guys have been great about opening up. There's no cameras, there's no social media. It's typically just us in a room, and it's trying to get, caught up on each other, and to build that brotherhood, if you will, of Team USA. And, these guys, they have a lot of fun together. These camps that are 2-3 days are very intimate. And so I do think that there's a real strong feeling in some of this time, the strain of going up and down. We were on, we were off. There was COVID. This particular group has been through a lot. They've weathered quite a storm. And so I do think that naturally has just brought them together, and they're hungry. There's not a guy on this team right now that was the last team standing, so we don't have a young man that just is coming off a national championship experience. Matsui and Danny have had that experience at Virginia, but I think it's a very motivated group right now. There's a lot of guys that I think are hungry. And I certainly felt that at our last camp, a very motivated group.
Well, you hit on it earlier. I am so happy that World Lacrosse figured out a way to make sure that these kids had an opportunity to play in this tournament, because it's been a long time coming. Hopefully everything goes according to plan. You guys get to Ireland and you guys get to compete, because we can't wait to see it. Nick, we appreciate the time, and safe travels and good luck. I'm sure we'll talk once you guys get over to Ireland.
Awesome. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks.
So very excited to see Team USA in action in August over in Ireland. It's been a long time coming for this team to finally get a chance to compete. And not only just them, the Canadians, the Haudenosaunee, Ireland, who's done such a great job getting ready for this tournament. So it's going to be really, really cool to see this event that was originally supposed to be a U19 event happen a couple of years later as a U21 event. Also, a lot of names, as we were just talking about, guys like Brendan O'Neill that are going to be suiting up in the red, white, and blue. Guys that some are already college stars or guys that will be college stars here in the next year or so. So it should be a terrific team to watch and a very competitive event. Canada looking to take gold away from them for the first time in the event's history. So Team USA trying to keep that streak alive and win yet another gold medal in this event. But that's going to do it for us here this week. Tom Eschen will be back with us next week, so we'll chat more about everything going on in the lacrosse world. Enjoy the PLL weekend. They head to Connecticut this weekend as they're back from the All-Star break, and we will see you next Tuesday.